In the case of Italy, it's particularly interesting because local elites, local landowners refuse to, in a lot of cases, give up their power. So this is one of the ways, by the way, which that the mafia, that the mob actually functions in Italy and is, of course, exported to other places where Italian immigrants go, because these are local landowners who have their own power. And, the mafia Don was the local landowner back in Italy, and especially in Sicily. So Italy is unified, but as a constitutional monarchy, and it provides a great amount of dissatisfaction to some people who wanted a republic or who wanted a papal state. The Vatican City is actually made an independent republic. It's not part of Italy. It's its own independent nation. Vatican City is. It has its own representatives to the United Nations and its own governmental structure and so forth. So it is made an independent state, and that's part of the Italian political settlement. In the case of German unification, starting on page 547, this is a longer process. As we've already indicated, there are two different solutions to German nationhood. One is the Großdeutschland solution, the Great Germany, the Greater Germany. Romantic nationalism said that all people who share a language or a culture or a past, whether real or imagined, have the right to have a nation, and that nation will have a government of the people's choosing. Well, the only problem with that, of course, is that Austria is a Catholic monarchy and it doesn't want to go along. It has its own monarchy, the Habsburgs. It has its own empire. It's Austria-Hungary in this period. Austria is very interested in expanding into Eastern Europe, and they don't want to be part of the German state of the German Empire. And, of course, some Germans don't want it either. The people who don't want it most of all, of course, are the Prussians. The Prussians, the King of Prussia, in this period, and the huge landowners, we've already talked about these people, very powerful, very militaristic, very centralized state. They are a significant military power, military force. So German liberalism strikes, in a sense, a very fateful Faustian bargain. Does that make any sense? A fateful Faustian bargain. It's a very mixed blessing here. German liberals say, well, the only way we're going to get our Germany is we're going to have to get it and let the Prussians rule it, because they're the only people that really have the power to draw Germany together as a nation. To draw Germany together as a nation, of course, like every other place, you have to conquer or sign deals with or steamroll over the local elites, landowners, and the local kings. I mean, what's the king of Hesse? What's the king of Saxony? Well, what are they going to think about this? Well, the Prussians, many Germans think, have the power to make this happen. So German liberalism, in a sense, sells itself out to the Prussian militarism. And, of course, fatefully for the world, Prussian militarism is then stamped upon Germany as a whole, because the Prussians want to organize all of Germany under militarism. So it certainly does give a different cast to Germany. Historians argue about this, though, how much of an effect this truly has, but it does doubtlessly have some effect, whether it's the major one or the minor one in Germany's history. Does it lead inexorably and inevitably towards Nazism or whatever? Well, we can argue about that. But there's a fact that German unification does transform the balance of economic, military, and international power. Germany is going to be the new kid on the block. They're going to want to get out there and be aggressive and get their colonies and build their sphere of influence. So Germany is going to be somewhat aggressive. Bismarck, Wilhelm I, the Kaiser, the King of Prussia, in 1862, turns to a very important individual for help unifying the German nation. Otto von Bismarck. Bismarck is a large Junker, a large landowner. He's a noble person himself. He is absolutely against parliamentary government and democracy. He is against nationalism, romantic nationalism. He wants a strong monarchy, and if he's able to allow some amount of constitutionalism, he's willing to do that, but as long as it preserves the monarchy. But more than anything else, Bismarck is a pragmatist. Bismarck crafts a political style that's very influential to this day. Realpolitik, which means the politics of the possible. Politics should be things not based on whether they're right or wrong, good or bad, but things that are possible and things that are advantageous. Pragmatic politics. We practice it here in the U.S. Europe practices it. It says there's going to be no big dreams or hopes. There's not going to be any utopian adventures, not adventurism, because of course that's okay. But no sort of utopians, oh, we deserve this kind of nation, the people want it, the voice of the people. No, none of that nonsense. Bismarck's main objective is to preserve the existing order. If he has to make some reforms, he will do it, but he will do it very slowly and hesitantly. And Bismarck, in a sense, closes the circle. He finishes what Napoleon started, turning nationalism into a statist, status quo ideology, strengthening the power of the state, of censorship, of the secret police, making sure that people are mobilized and support their kings and their princes and their traditional churches and their wars and their empires and so forth. Bismarck is a master politician, and he and Metternich of Austria are probably the two men that are right up there with being some of the most, maybe the most influential politicians in history. Bismarck will do anything, well, to get anything done, he will use any means necessary. If it's pragmatic, he will do it. It doesn't necessarily matter the ideology or whatever so much as if it can be done. And let's look at how he does that. Bismarck makes moves when he is made the prime minister in 1862 against the liberal parliament. He weakens Parliament in every way possible. He collects tax revenues and has it funneled into the army to build up the military. Bismarck then in 1863 suffers somewhat of a setback because liberals are elected to the German Parliament, to the Prussian Parliament. However, Bismarck decides, this is on page 550, that he's going to find a new way to attract popular support and get it away from the liberals and on himself and on his class and on the Prussian state. And he's going to do that by uniting Germany based on the conservative institutions of Prussia. So Bismarck is going to outflank German liberalism. He is going to embrace the cause of German nationalism as a Prussian strategy to enable Prussians to defeat the liberals and to unify Germany along their militaristic conservative lines. How does he unite Germany? Well, he actually stimulates a whole lot of patriotic fervor for a Germany by warfare. War is one of the oldest political tools in the world. War will cause nationalism, conservative, statist nationalism to flare up. It will cause people to forget about their issues and their divisions. It will cause people to stick together. It will cause people to unite. It will cause people to stop dissenting against the state. War is a very strong political tool, but it has been used and all through history, I guess, but in the modern era especially. So the Danish War of 1864, Bismarck decides, let's go for an easy victory. So he conquers Denmark. It's not very difficult to do. And then, of course, he decides to go to war against Austria. Two things here. To defeat the Großdeutschland, the Greater Germany wish of the German people, of the liberals, to get them to settle for a Klein Deutschland solution, a small German solution, i.e. the Prussian-dominated Germany. He decides to bring Austria into the war, and then, you're probably not going to believe this, but it does happen anyway. After the Danish War, when the Prussians and the Austrians sort of fight together, Bismarck instructs the Prussian army to be rude to the Austrians, to alienate them and to make them mad, and eventually cause them to declare war on Prussia. And this works. They do it. The Prussians are rude to the Austrians. They make them angry. Trouble breaks out. Dissension breaks out. Everybody gets mad at each other. And the Prussians and the Austrians go to war in 1866 for, 7 weeks. And the Prussians defeat Austria. That knocks Austria out of the Greater Germany solution and gets attention onto the Prussians. Masterful politics. And, of course, then they put together the North German Confederation, which eventually leads to German unification. But it's not over yet. German unification does not happen until another war against a bigger European power happens, and that is the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 1871. And that is what unifies Germany. So again, Germany is a political entity that is unified and brought together by warfare.